is season 4, episode 4, Lending an Ear with Kim K, the building engineer. So here we have Kim. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Vibing, thriving, living, chilling like a villain. Yeah, we're doing well. So do you want to give a little quick intro for people who don't know who you are?
I think most people don't know who I am, but hi, I'm Kim, and I know Chrissy from elementary school, so that's how I ended up here.
Yeah.
So since then, I've pursued an engineering degree for some reason, glutton for punishment, I guess. And here we are today because we reconnected on social media. So
Yeah, I love that. Awesome. What intrigued you to kind of pursue engineering as a career?
That's a really good question. And I guess I didn't choose it. It chose me in a way. Since the beginning of time, I don't know how you remember me as a student, if you remember me as a student, but I was never the sharpest pencil in the pencil case, if we want to put it lightly.
Really? I don't know. You were like a good student. I feel like I don't remember you not being a good student.
All I remember is like always having my name written on the board for getting in trouble and talking to people. All I ever wanted to do was talk to people. Me and Kyle, I don't know if you remember Kyle.
Of course. I haven't seen that kid in years, but I hope you're well, Kyle, if you're out there.
I still see him, so I'll tell him.
Nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, tell him I said hi for sure. Yeah. Okay, so
I mean, came to a point where teachers were coming around to check the homework and they would just skip me because they knew I just hadn't done it. I just didn't care. And that's how my journey kind of started. And it wasn't until my parents started touring high schools with me.
Yeah.
They started touring high schools with me in grade 4, which was really early. And I saw this high school that I was dying to go to, not because of any services that they offered, but they had a really cute uniform. I said, I want to wear a school skirt and some knee-high socks. Who doesn't, right?
So sure.
At that point, I had a goal and I was like, I need to go to this school. This school is called Queen of Angels Academy, and it has since been decommissioned and is college.
Yeah, it closed. That's true.
Yeah, closed down, burnt down, a little bit of both.
It burnt down?
Yeah, a portion of it.
Oh no. I know of it because I went to Greek school on Saturdays and they rented it.
So that's how they did that. They did Greek school.
Yeah. Well, it was
After I saw those uniforms, I said to myself, this is where I need to be.
Okay.
So I started learning my geometry and doing my best. And I don't know if you remember back in those days, but one of our teachers, his name was Mr. Dixon, he would bring us outside and he would read the people that had the best grades on the test. And
I know. I hated that. I was never there. He told me, he's like, because I was horrible at math. Like, math is not my forte at all. And he was like, I really hope you pass, like, my class. Because grade 6 was like, it was not a good, and he knew my dad. They went to like high school together or something. I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't a good time. I feel that. It was kind of embarrassing. Because you would always
embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I was so delusional. I was like, this is the time. This is the time that he's going to call my name. Every time I was so hopeful. And I always never had better than a 60%. It just never was better than that. Like, I would pass, but I would just pass. And you want to know what? Sometimes in life, that's fine. Just passing is fine.
Right.
Amen.
But I was so determined. I got into high school and I was like, I'm a grind. I was bad at math. I was bad at everything, honestly, except for English. But I was like, I'm going to do it. I put my head to it. And in high school, I actually started doing well. I went to private Queen of Angels. For people that don't know, it's like a private all-girl high school. And over there, the teacher, there was like 25 kids in the class, and the teachers knew us by name. They were really invested in us. And that's what started my success as a student. It really started there because I had the resources that I needed. And I'm just competitive by nature. So I wanted to be in the high maths. I wanted to do all those things, although I was not at the caliber of the other students. I had a teacher straight up tell me, listen, you're not at the caliber of the other students. You shouldn't be my class. And I was so determined that I went to do summer school because there was a situation where if you went to summer school, even if you passed the class, whatever grade that you get in summer school is going to be going to replace all your grades. So I literally just went to summer school so that I could get whatever the 70% that I needed to get into the high math class. The teachers wanted nothing to do with me. The science teacher wanted nothing to do with me. They didn't believe that I was going to pretty much go anywhere in life. They were like, you're not good at math. You're not good at science. All I was good at was art and English. And when it came time to picking a university degree, I wanted to go into architecture because I was like, you know what, I could do a little bit of math. At that time, I was getting good at math. I could do a bit of art. That's where I wanted to go. But because I did so horribly in all of my science classes, I just wasn't able to get into the architecture program, which was only offered at McGill. They needed like, I don't know, a 29 overall R score in all the sciences, and I didn't have that.
That's insane.
Yeah. So my parents were like, just go to university, just pick something.
Okay.
So engineering only wanted 23. So I was like, okay, I'll go into engineering. It was called architectural engineering. I was like, okay, well, maybe I could do a year of engineering. I could do well, and then I'll switch over to architecture. As we know today, that never ended up happening because my first year I failed all my classes. So
okay.
I didn't have an easy journey with school at all. I failed 2 classes, got C- in 2 classes and B- in 1 class in my first semester. And after my first year, I was actually on academic probation. A lot of people that I imagine if people that were in school with me heard this, they would be very surprised because I didn't give off that energy. Like I said, I was just a glutton for punishment. I was very competitive. I wanted to do it, and I forced myself to do it, even though all I was getting as feedback was literally failure. I was like, there's no way I could do this. I could do this. And I was so dead set on doing it that is what I did. I've always been a slow learner. I spent my weekends, my weeks, every hours of my day for 4.5 years in school. Literally, I was at Concordia on the weekends. The cleaning staff knew who I was. The local restaurants knew who I was because
janitors.
I was always there.
Yeah, I love that though. That's so like, I love to hear that kind of story, like the persistence, the just like never ending, like, like attitude. I love that. You clearly wanted to do it. Like,
it's stubbornness at the end.
But like a good kind, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like not that's amazing to hear though. Okay, so it was architectural engineering, so that's kind of like building engineering then.
Exactly. So they said building engineering is kind of architectural engineering because for most people don't actually know the differences between all the engineering. As soon as someone says they're an engineer, they're like, okay, sounds good. And you're like, okay, well, what is that really?
Right.
And so to differentiate, obviously mechanical is things that have moving parts. There's electrical, that's electricity. There's chemical, which has to do with chemical compounds. And then there's building civil engineering. So civil and building engineering are kind of under the same umbrella such that they deal with construction, but building is specifically geared towards building, whereas civil, you could do more like infrastructure stuff like bridges and dams and these types of things. The one thing they have in common is they both do building structure. Okay. So within building engineering, there's 3 avenues. There's the structure avenue, there's the envelope avenue, and there's the HVAC avenue, because those are the 3 components of a building. So there's the structure avenue, which deals with what the civil engineers deal with. There's the envelope, which is what I specialize in, which separates the interior space to the exterior space of a building. And then the HVAC is the heating, air conditioning, ventilation of the building. So I ended up going into building envelope engineering, so building sciences.
Okay, cool.
That's legit. Love that. Yeah, okay.
Was there a specific reason why you decided to choose that one out of all of
Um,
like engineering?
I guess it was sort of a process of elimination.
Okay.
I knew I didn't like HVAC. It was a lot about like duct work and stuff, and I just was not interested in understanding heating, circulation, piping. It was just like not for me. And the structure I had always struggled with. I was, I don't know, for some reason, being an engineer, I was okay at physics. I really wasn't the best. And it's a lot of physics, it's a lot of math. And I really liked the math, but the physics like lost me at times. And it's very, it's very interesting, but I also in school, as soon as it started getting to too high of a level and structure, I said, there's no way I'm going to be doing this. I just find it to be too much. It's too ambiguous. I like things that are ambiguous, but ambiguous in a way where you need logic to solve it. And structure is very definite in a way, whereas envelope allows more creativity, more artistic aspect to it. It's more problem solving. Structure is like there's an answer, you know, there's an answer and you can make it over designed, like make it over safe, but there's like a minimum answer, like this is the way that it's done. It's very structured, whereas envelope allows for like some creativity. Not only that, but I was very familiar with the type of work that envelope does because my father is actually also a building engineer. Technically, he's a civil engineer, but he specializes in building. And to this day, we actually work together. So,
Oh wow,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I knew the work that I was getting into before getting into it. And I guess that's what kind of persuaded me, because in school, when they would talk about envelope, people like didn't get it, but I really got it because I had that firsthand knowledge, that firsthand account. I've seen what it looks like in the field, and I was more interested in that than the others, I guess.
That's really cool.
That's cool that you work with your dad too, you know? I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
like it can get, you know, working with parents.
There's a lot of stigma that comes with that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like either it works or it doesn't.
Yeah. So that's awesome though. So for COVID lockdowns, did that affect you at all with your work? Like, was there like COVID scares or like how was that for you?
So it was interesting. I started full-time work in February 2020. And we all know what happened after that. So prior to that, I was interning. So I had already seen a bit of the work, but I officially started full-time in February 2020. Exactly a month later in March is when they told us we're all going to be starting remote at this point. And I think a week or so, or a couple weeks after that, I essentially ran out of work, and we pretty much, my whole team, we're a team of like maybe 10 people, I would say approximately, were all laid off temporarily. We knew that we were going to come back. So there was that job security in a way, because in Quebec, construction never stops and our job is dependent on construction. So because construction was allowed to continue, we were able to come back to work after 2 months. So for 2 months, I was at home. I learned how to cook. I learned how to make pasta from scratch. And it was actually really nice for that. But COVID, working from home, I was living with my parents. Obviously, I work with my dad. My dad is like the director of our sector in the company. So my dad being the director, I was by mistake listening in on meetings that I probably shouldn't have. And he was in lots of meetings. My mom was also we were all in our basement. My mom was in meetings. I was like trying to just focus, and it was a hard situation for that. But I was fortunate, to have a place to work. I know a lot of people during the pandemic had it very hard. Like they were not able to, or had difficulty working from home at any point. So it didn't affect me, I think, as much as other people. Nobody around me at work got sick. I know there was a few scares of COVID from friends, but in terms of work, there was not much of anything at all. I've been remote since COVID. So.
Oh, So you still haven't gone back?
I haven't gone back to the office. I do not plan on going back to the office. The directors and associates have gone back. They enjoy the office because generally it's like older men or women, let's say, that have like family at home and they have their little escape at the office. But I would say most of the young people prefer to stay at home. So I do work from home, but I also work on site. So my site work is obviously out and about. But in terms of doing my office work at the office, I have not done it. I'll pass by the office to pick up equipment, but that will be the extent of my office visits.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like at least they give you the option, you know what I mean? Because like everyone's different. So yeah, what would you say, apart from working with your dad, is your favorite part of your job?
Yeah, so yeah, I guess I enjoy working with my dad because we actually do get along. We are very similar minded, so that's good. I think if we would butt heads more, then it probably wouldn't be an enjoyable experience, but I actually do enjoy working with my father because we get along very well and we don't work directly all that often. I also work with my best friend, so that's really nice. I had my best friend from school. We graduated together and we both specialized in envelopes. So it was just like a natural thing where, he ended up coming to work in the team as well. And I think working with my best friend is just one of my favorite things because you have someone that understands you, that you could just talk to. It's kind of like going through school. Like when you're in school, there's like a herd, everybody's talking to each other and you're all relating because you're all in that school environment. And so now it has like carried over to my work as well. And I like that, in particular, we're very lucky because our boss is quite flexible. So I could be working, if I decide I want to work later, I can work my hours later in the day, as long as I get my hours done, basically. So sometimes in the winter, my friend and I we're also neighbors, we'll take a break in the middle of the day because it gets dark so early now, and we'll take a walk, we'll do something during the day, and then we'll make up for that extra 2 hours at some point in the evening. We don't have a family to take care of. So for us, it's easy to switch around our schedule. And I think having a flexible schedule to a certain degree, obviously, like when I have to be on site and present myself at 7 a.m, then I'm doing that. I can't say, no, I'm not going to go. I go. But having at least a bit of flexibility and autonomy in your work, I find is one of the most amazing things about the work. I enjoy the work itself, but for me, it's never been about the work itself. I think it's hard to be passionate about something that doesn't belong to you. I think that the passion comes from being like so knowledgeable in a craft that you could share that craft. And right now, because I'm not the most knowledgeable that I could be, I can't really share that with others. And so that part of it is missing for me, but I know that it's in my cards in the future. So I know that there's something coming for me that is going to bring me a lot of joy in this domain moving forward. I could have done anything. I knew I could have picked anything, but for me, it's about being able to share that with others, that where the joy comes in. Just knowing a lot about something makes me passionate about it. So that's where like it becomes more exciting for me. So
yeah, well said. I feel like it's one of those things you just learn like on the job and with experience. Like it's just like like anything. Like my grandfather, he's like like one of the smartest people. He's he's retired now, but he was a civil engineer. And so, and he's like, yeah, like I did school, but like I learned more in like my 20 plus years. I think he worked for like Armstrong or something. But yeah, so but it's like, I guess with cooking too, like you go to culinary school, it's kind of like the 101, but you learn like specific cuisines as you, like, let's say you go abroad to like another country, obviously. So it's kind of like just one of those like jobs, like almost anything. I would say like you just,
I would say most things.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a doctor or, a lawyer, I would say that every other job, you learn more of your job while you're doing it.
Yeah.
School just teaches you how to learn. And then after that, it's about you.
Kim, we lost you for a sec.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, no
I was
worries.
getting
No
a
worries.
call, I declined it.
No problem. But yeah, so just as an engineer, I feel like I did, I mean, we kind of already knew, like it's like one of those like trades where like um women are not at the forefront all of the time, or most of the time, I would say. And I was reading in like just Statistics Canada, and there was like an article, and their 2019 numbers showed that young women um leave engineering school at a slightly higher rate than men, and women have in Canada merely make 13% of engineers in our nation. And I was like,
Wow, that's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. And I was like, I don't know, I wanted to ask you, like, why do you think that is it like a kind of like a boys club environment, or is it just
I think we'd be silly to like point it to one thing in
yeah,
particular. Leaving the profession or leaving the degree, I would say, in terms of my personal experience, because I could obviously only speak of my personal
yeah,
experience, is that the women that I saw, none of them left. Like we all went through it till the end. And I think at a higher and higher rate, there's more and more women graduating in engineering. And all the different kinds of engineering as well. Obviously, we're significantly less in numbers than the men. And just from doing open houses and stuff, I always push myself to do the open houses, although it's, it's a long day. But doing the open houses and talking to girls that are actually interested in engineering that don't know that like they could do it has really like opened my horizons. I made sure I talk to them, and I'm like, no, it's good. Like if you want to do this, you can do this. And maybe they feel like they can't, and maybe they stop doing it. Why women would stop doing it during their career is probably most likely because of having children. A lot of women like to have children. And I've seen it firsthand that at a certain age, like for example, my personal job, we're working at heights, we're manipulating large machinery, we're doing things that are a bit dangerous. And once you have kids, you kind of want to take a step back from that. You kind of want more of like an office job, because you realize your life is not just your life anymore. You have dependents. And I think a lot of women do end up making that decision to take the step back. Whether it's unfortunate or not, I think it comes down to like the decision in the couple, who's able, if someone's going to stay home, who's it going to be, who's making more money, etc. These things. But it makes me sad to think that we leave at a higher rate than men. I'm just trying to think about it mathematically. And if we're smaller in numbers, each one of us could represent a larger percentage. So do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
if there's like 100 men and 20 women and one woman leaves, and versus like 10 men leave,
right.
the percentage is like, it doesn't tell the full story, I
That's
think.
true.
But
That's true.
I'm sure there's many reasons, but in terms of it being a boys club, in my personal experience, I haven't seen that. I've been surrounded by some very strong women, because the women that come into engineering aren't there to mess around. Like
For sure.
they're very dedicated. So, and the guys know that. If anything, we're more organized, we're more punctual. We're not scared to ask the questions. We're not scared to get more information from the teachers. We're very diligent. We're very clean. So the guys don't want another guy's notes. They want our notes. Like if
Yeah.
anything, I've seen the reverse. They want to pair up with the women because they know that we do better jobs than them. So in terms of it being a boys club, the construction site sometimes gets a bit masculine for me personally. Like sometimes roofers are a little bit less dignified, or like people that like les ouvriers, like people that are doing these types of jobs, sometimes they like to pass comments about women a lot, and it makes anybody uncomfortable. I've seen a lot of it firsthand. I was surveying for a roofing job, and I'm just overhearing the men talk so much smack about their wives, their mothers, their daughters, and it becomes
Right.
it becomes a lot. Or for example, I was watching I was there to watch these workers open a wall. The workers happened to be men, and they had to open the wall so that we could do an investigation. And it was in a commercial building, and another man in a suit walked out and saw me and my female colleague watching these men open the wall, because that's literally our job. And the guy passed a comment saying like, oh, you guys must feel real special with two like ladies watching you. And it's like, no, two engineers doing their jobs,
right?
Not two ladies watching you. There is a bit of that. And I think that's with the older generations, but I think that will phase out. It will like fade over time. And I hope more and more women are coming into engineering. I'd love to see that, because it's definitely doable. I think there's probably a stigma around it, which is why probably less people want to join, but it's so doable, and people always see it as like something unattainable. But I feel like if I could struggle through it, if you are a glutton for punishment and you want to go through it, you could do it too. Anybody can. I really think so.
Awesome.
What would you like advice would you give to any like inspired, like, is it like upcoming like female engineers?
What advice would I give someone? I would say just keep going. Do like, I guess it so depends, because you are not, I would say you're not less intelligent because you're a woman. You can't not do it if you're a woman. If anything, whether, you know, it's nice to say or not, now that there's like a diversity token that's going in, there's a lot more opportunities for women in engineering to move up, because companies do want to look more diverse. So they are promoting women, whether it's a good thing, like a nice, it's kind of backhanded a bit, but at the same time, there are opportunities for you to grow. You're not going to not grow because you're a woman. If anything, there's more opportunities now, especially because we're such small in numbers. But just the engineering degree, it won't be like that when you leave, I promise. Struggle through it, but it'll pay off for sure.
Nice. I feel like you were saying like sometimes it is backhanded, and that's, you know, when companies you know, try so hard to be inclusive, sometimes it just comes off as like, oh, like you chose me just because I'm a woman, or just because I'm a person of color, and like it can get a little like,
it's so ambiguous,
you know, fake. Yeah.
And like, especially as women, I feel like you guys could relate to this a lot. Just in any situation we're in, if we start to get a vibe when somebody says something, but it could be something so innocent, and it's like, okay, but would you have said that to me if I was a man? And that sentiment like stays with you as a woman, you know, like we feel more defensive because we're like, we have to think about that. We're like, but would you say that to me if I was a man?
Oh yeah.
And sometimes they would, but sometimes it's so ambiguous and you can't know. It's like in a tone or in a manner of speech, and it's hard to decipher sometimes. And that's an uncomfortable position to be in, because we start to think like, okay, now should I stand up for myself? But if I stand up for myself, do I look like, you know, the BITCH? Like,
right.
What do I do in this situation? And that will come up a lot, I think, especially, you know, most of my colleagues are male. So I'm like, okay, are they making him do this job just because, you know, he's a guy? Like, are they like, sometimes they won't let me, for example, they'll, how should I say, like, they'll open the door for me, or like, they'll tell me, oh no, don't carry that, or things like this. Yeah. And it's like, no, I could carry my weight, you know, like they're trying to be nice, but like, are you just doing that because I'm a woman, you know?
Yeah. That was actually my next question. I was curious, like just any particular instance where you were treated differently or unfairly in your field as a woman.
During my work experience, it's like, that's it. Like, I can't know, but definitely there's always those moments where like someone's like, oh, don't carry that, or, oh, okay, like, let me help you, but they won't do that to my male colleagues, you know? And I think
for sure.
But I do think that it's important that the environment that you work in, that you know that those people are on your side. You know what I mean? Like, I know my colleagues very well. Most of the higher ups, let's say, have worked with my father for many, many years. So I pretty much grew up around them. So I know them quite well. and I know that these people are good people, you know, they have daughters, you know, they're well-rounded people, like they don't treat me any type of way. It will be more when I present myself on a site where like the males are unknown. And I brought that up to my supervisor and I said, you know, sometimes I feel uncomfortable in these situations. And he said, well, what makes you uncomfortable? And I had to really reflect on that. And for me, it became the lack of confidence, because as soon as you know what you're talking about, nothing can make you feel uncomfortable. Like when you know that you know your stuff, there's nothing that anybody could say that could make you uncomfortable. So I know that my objective is to get to that point where I'm like, I really know my craft so well that I don't feel uncomfortable, and I'm working on that, and I'm putting myself in those uncomfortable situations to try and overcome them. But in terms of like a particular instance, no, it's so ambiguous. Like, as you guys know, it's all day, every day, and you can't know. To point out something could be like something so minor, and then you're like, okay, actually maybe I'm overlooking that, I'm overthinking it. And that's why I'm also happy that I have my best friend with me, because I could always ask him like, okay, did you see what this person said to me? Like, how do you receive that? Do you think that they're just saying that? You know, having someone to bounce those things off of also helps reassure me in a way.
For sure. But that's nice to hear. I just feel like sometimes you just hear like stories of women working in large companies, and they're just like, you know, unfortunately this and this happened, so super glad about that. But yeah, I don't know, I just feel like I you know, we as much as we like lost touch after elementary school, you know, life happens, but I feel like we had each other on social media, and I kind of just, I don't know, I remember like you posting like, oh, like when you graduated from university, or like there was this huge like thing like, oh, people said like, you know, you're good at English, so stick with that. But you were like, no, like I'm gonna do this, and you did it, and I'm super, super happy for you. Like like I don't know, it's like not everyone would stick. Most people just drop out of school, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Yeah. And I feel the same way when I see, you know, yeah, all the women and, you know, anybody from my past just like getting it. I feel so good, you know, I feel so, I admire them so much, you know, like all these people that have done so many crazy things. And especially like you and I got talking after, and it's like, there's so many struggles and things behind the scenes that people are going through, and for them to overcome those things and just, you know, do amazing things with their lives. It's so inspiring. And that's honestly the things that makes me so happy about social media. Like, as much as it could be toxic for some people, like for me, it's really the joy of seeing people just doing their thing, you know?
For sure. Like, get your bag, Miss Thing. Go off, Kim.
Yeah,
like no, it's just like, it's really cool. Cause like, I feel that like, I was never, I don't know, in class, especially when teachers were like, oh, like reading the grades aloud, or like, you know, putting like the paper with like everyone's grades. I just feel like that's kind of rude.
Yeah, it's so rude.
And like, I don't know, I think it's like a private matter whether you did well or not so well. Like, I don't know. I prefer if it's like, you know, just talk to me, you know, I don't know, like even in like high school, like there was just, I feel like there's such a pressure for like to do super well. Like even in I went to private school for like a small amount of time, but like I didn't do like, it's not like I failed or anything, but I wasn't getting like, you know, high 90s, and they were like, oh, like this is not good enough. And I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
like
literally.
I'm not like, you know, first in the class or anything, but like I didn't, you know, I didn't do that bad. But it's just like, I don't know, it's like a whole thing. And then, you know, the whole like Concordia is a good school, you know what I mean? Their engineering program is like quite good as well. Like there's it's like this whole, you know, McGill versus Concordia thing. It's like the everlasting rivalry for, I don't know what the reasons are, but it's like
there's no reason.
Gag at this point. It's like a whole joke. But like I went to Concordia for a little bit, and like it was a good time, you know, like there were most of the I mean, I was in film, mind you, but it was honestly like the resources were really good. Like they had like really good professors, and like I don't know, I was like downtown, I wasn't at Loyola,
It's
So
good vibes.
but now it's all renovated. It looks really nice. So I'm like happy because
Mhm.
it was like years of construction. I just remember being there and it was like still in construction. I'm like, how long? But it looks great. Super dope.
You know what? It's like I'm having I should have mentioned this, but I'm having this super full circle moment right now
Yeah.
because the project that I'm actually working on right now is the Concordia buildings. I'm doing all the inspections of all the Concordia buildings.
Oh wow.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah. That's
And I was
awesome.
just there today, actually.
Okay.
And I was just like walking around the campus, and I had a moment where I was just doing some inspection from the ground, from the floor level, and I looked into a window. It was actually Reggie's, and I saw these students at a table, and on the guy's laptop was one of the first year classes from engineering. And I noticed the class and I was like, oh my God, this guy's in his first year. Like, it's like, it just makes you reflect on, how far you've come.
For sure.
And you just want to tell everybody that it's not about the grades, it's about finishing. I think that's what's the most important thing, because what you brought up is so important. It's like we hyper focus on the grades because we're not getting any other kind of compensation or reward other than the grade. So we're putting in work and we want to see that good grade at the end. But at the end of the day, the people that are more successful in life, first of all, people that finish. Yeah. And you want to know what? The people that didn't focus so much on school and that actually did more internship stuff, that got more experience, are the ones that end up doing better. So like a huge takeaway is focus on finishing and not the grade, the finishing. That's the real success. At the end of the day, we all get the same paper. So it's not about the grades that you got. It's not about me failing in my first semester. It's not about, the turnaround and getting A+ at the end. That was fine, but it didn't bring me to where I am today. What brought me to where I am today is, like you said, it's the grind. It's the part in between.
Very eloquently said.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. Like it's super dope. And we're just here and we're like really thankful that you took the time to come on our show. And
I'm the happiest. Yeah. Congratulations to you guys, honestly.
Oh,
I really
thanks.
love the show.
Yeah.
You guys are doing such an amazing job getting the voices out, and you guys have amazing podcast voices. I don't know. I always find that. Is that a weird compliment?
No. Appreciate that a lot. Yeah, this like started in lockdown out of nothing, like just like a dingy, like just Apple like earphones, and like it was on SoundCloud, and then we kind of just like Bella was like, yeah, let me hop on. And I was like, okay. And then, got some equipment, did some stuff. And then we were like, okay, well, now it's a lockdown. We have to kind of improvise, and just kept going. And, then we we're like, oh, well, maybe people will like send us free stuff, and like reached out to like David's Tea, and like they were dope. And they just sent us like accessories and teas. And we're like, thank you. Like what, how? And then just I don't know, I get, like you said, it's persistence. It's like keep doing it, you know what I mean? And people are listening. I don't know, like thank you. Like
persistence and consistency.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, wishing you a great evening.